You've been on a bus in the UK, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
You've been on a bus, right? Uh, have you ever been on a bus where a person was running for the bus and the bus pulls out into the traffic, so the person has to wait for the next one? You know, then you can see them being left on the pavement as the bus pulls out and goes on
Yeah.
its way. That person, to me, is like the UK, is like the British government, and the bus is like an opportunity. Uh, but for the UK government, it's like Groundhog Day because when the next bus comes along, either because it's too bloated or dim or has really bad reflexes, they find themselves running behind the bus again and the bus pulling out into the traffic of opportunities. It's been like that for around about 15, 20 years now, no matter who was in charge. If we look back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we might have had a harder life, but the atmosphere was different. It was very dynamic back in the day, very dynamic. And the governments were hopping on and off these buses with no doors, like the traditional London
Yeah.
bus.
Yeah.
They
Route
didn't have the doors at the
masters,
back. Right.
route
So
masters
the
and
government,
RTs. Yeah.
the government was jumping, hopping on and hopping off and hopping on
Yeah.
and hopping off. Uh, and sometimes they just needed to take the opportunity until the next corner where they jump off, even though the bus might have been in movement. It was leaner back in the day, and jumping on a bus, even before the bus stopped, was commonplace. And some striking personalities came to light because of this, of this being able to hop on and hop off and do this and then come up. So, Harold Wilson, he was a British Prime Minister, and he was always preoccupied with the pound in your pocket. That's
Yeah.
the thing that I took. That's the thing I took away from him.
Yeah. I remember
It
that.
was
Yeah.
all about the pound in your pocket and
Yeah.
inflation and devaluing the pound and all this. But he served quite a few times, and so he hopped on, hopped off, hopped
Yeah.
on, hopped off. Edward Heath sailing around on Morning Cloud, his yacht. There were some conspiracy theorists kicking about, suggesting he was molesting children on board. But that that's subject for another day.
Yeah. I don't know.
Likewise, Cyril Smith, a Rochdale MP, Liberal
Mm.
MP,
Yeah.
he was molesting children he was molesting children rather prolifically, uh, and he was investigated, as was Edward Heath, and both investigations ended up with naught, saying nothing to see here, move
Okay.
along.
All right. Mm.
But that's because in them days, the the manner to be was eyes wide shut.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knew what was going on. Jimmy Savile,
Mm.
everybody knew what was going on. Rolf Harris, everybody knew what was going on, but nobody said anything about it. It's
Mm.
just one of those things. Margaret Thatcher, another, a villain in one moment and a heroine in the other. And even the higher ups in the Liberal Party got in on the act with with biting pillows and calling each other bunny. Of course, we mentioned Jeremy Thorpe, of course, But those were the good old bad old days when there was a lot of grit and to get up and go from the nation. Reflection of the government managing to catch the bus of opportunity and, more importantly, knowing where to get off. Of course, the government in general forgot to get off the bus of the European Economic Community, and they stayed on that bus until it became the European Union, a political organisation. So let's look at what we have in hand today. So today, as we speak, Keir Starmer will be meeting with Donald Trump. So this is let's compare the two. The leader of the UK and the leader of the United States. Sir Keir will be in Washington wearing not a stitch of clothing that he has bought himself. He took them from a third party, just like a charity shop would do after somebody had died.
Yeah.
Not even his NHS glasses did he open his wallet to acquire. So Trump, who bought all his own clothes, by the way, because he's a billionaire, already thinks Starmer is cheap. He's going to think that Starmer's a cheap bastard.
Okay.
Then Starmer will advise Trump about his own foreign policy, about Trump's own foreign policy, and will reduce foreign aid to spend on the military 2.5% of GDP by 2027. Trump wants 5%, so not only is Starmer cheap in Trump's eye, he is also a cheap failure. Trump works on results. When I was a salesman back in the UK, my boss always said, results only come from the successful, excuses come from failures. Starmer will then go on to say how he can help in the peace deal in the Ukraine. Late to the party, Starmer, or left on the street by the departing bus yet again. He was on board of the EU bus and not the Worldview bus, which just passed him by. Then, of course, the real reason why Starmer is in the US, tariffs. Tariffs. The last few visits to arrive in front of Trump yesterday, Eli Lilly will invest $27 billion in the US. The day before Macron visited, the day before Macron was shuffled around like a rag doll.
Yeah.
With Trump's handshakes.
Mm.
Trump's all bruised on his right hand because of power handshakes with so many people.
Yeah.
So anyway, Trump received Tim Cook of Apple. And he closed a $500 billion deal with Cook to invest in the US, creating over 200,000 jobs over the next few years. That's $500 billion of investment from Apple.
Yeah, well.
And before that, Trump hosted a group of Japanese businessmen from SoftBank, who will invest also $500 billion in artificial intelligence in the US, and that was even before Trump was sworn in. And then we look at Starmer, cap in hand. What's he going to offer Trump? If we look at Trump at a UFC event, then and the crowd erupts as he walks in. This is the difference. Trump can walk into a UFC event and the crowd explodes.
Yep.
Or at the Super Bowl, where Trump went,
and
when his face was shone on the Megatron,
the
crowd went wild. The whole stadium went wild.
Yeah.
Or even recently at the Daytona 500, and he was doing laps around the track in the Beast, in its car.
Yeah.
That's the sign of a leader. That's the sign of a good leader.
Well,
because you have the whole population behind him.
Well, yeah, he's a celebrity as well, but yeah, he's a leader. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Starmer, for his part, he can be seen in the corporation seats at Arsenal, hidden away behind glass. Seats paid for, by the way, but of course not by him. Trump getting the richest man in the world to help sort out the nation's finances. and Starmer called in on rates from accounts to try and do the same in the UK. And up until now, doesn't seem to be doing a very good job at it. So as we can see, the two people are so different on so many levels. It's uncanny. Just as Trump used headphones for the simultaneous translation when Macron was speaking French, so he might do the same when Starmer is speaking English. So annoying his voice is. Better to have that woman's voice who speaks in monotone
Yeah.
than the real thing. We need to beat the gangs, crush the gangs.
Oh, yeah. I know.
About as manly as Larry Grayson with the box of kittens. I mean, listening to Starmer, I zone out when I watch him. I zone out.
I must
I
admit,
just
I've not made that connection, but yeah, yeah, I'll go with
can't
it.
can't stand his voice. But like I said, chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
So how do you think the meeting will go today?
I, right. I think Trump will be cordial. Yeah. He won't be abrupt. In Trump's mind, it'd be like kicking Bambi, probably, if he was to lash out. Um, it's look, I'm British. I'm proud British. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not quite. I'm not quite saying I want mega, make England great again, but because some things you just know are not going to happen. Um, but it's an embarrassment. I speak this as a British guy. It's an embarrassment. I mean, yeah, you alluded to Thatcher, hero, hero, heroine, and villain, sometimes at the same time. Okay, yeah, we can all agree that. Even people that voted for her tell you that. Yeah, that it wasn't really always out of love, but wherever she went, she got a cheer. I can't recall any leader since her being shown any real emotion anyway. I mean, I still remember um, Blair with the slow clapping from the
I
Women's
was gonna
Institute.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say I was gonna say Tony Blair up until the Iraqi war.
yeah, okay. I mean, he was a snake oil salesman,
Yep.
obviously.
That's
Yeah,
what we all found out in the end.
yeah. And he's still trying to be relevant today. He was on one of the morning programs. I don't bother watching these people. I think they're irrelevant. They might be operating in the background somewhere. He might be putting some strings on a certain person or people, whilst he's having the strings pulled on him, and so on. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it's quite incredible. But when I'm seeing all these, I'm going to be honest, across Europe, yeah, I'm gonna cut to what I think Trump is up to. He's playing 4D chess. Trump is absolutely. I'm cutting out a few paragraphs here for time. Trump is playing what I think is termed 4D chess, and he's doing the art of the deal, the business deals. Yeah, and that's what Trump is. He's not a statesman. He's not a politician. He doesn't play the political game. He doesn't play the political elite game or anything else. Yeah. He is looking, okay, America first, but he's also trying to build for the world as well in his own world. Okay. I'm not saying he's right on a lot of things. I'm just saying in Trump world. Okay. I'm going to quit Trump world. I know that's a very Democrat thing to say, but it is a Trump world. Yeah. In his mind. And that's what it is. He's I wouldn't say dictator character, but he's somebody who's making executive decisions all the
Very
time.
direct.
Yeah,
Very direct.
which the world needs, in my opinion.
He
Yeah,
doesn't like to mess about.
no, he, and this is the problem we've got now. Actually, to be quite honest, despite all we say about him, when Macron gets going, Macron is a direct man as well. Yeah, when you listen to Macron, sometimes he speaks directly. It's
You
wrong.
know, yeah.
Yeah,
You know, I when Macron went to visit Trump,
yeah,
I don't think he said any. I don't think he got anything out of the meeting
no,
except for a slap on the back. And nice to see you.
Well,
Congratulations on Notre Dame.
well, I do actually think this. I mean, out of all the leaders, I think Macron. I can't remember when Macron's really ripped into Trump. I can't remember a time he's done it. Somebody might correct me there. The Germans did, etc. What America's suffered with a lot in Europe, and we're seeing it now, is we've always wanted US support across Europe, but we've always wanted the privilege of criticizing and slagging the US off. And in particular, in Trump's last tenure, whatever you might think about him as an American, us Europeans, our European leaders, insulted the US leader. Yeah.
When he was thought that he was going to go to prison, you could see them all lining up to get to insult him.
Yeah.
They were up to stick the boot in.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing to see.
Well, certainly the UK elites. Well,
Wow, wow.
yeah. I can't remember Macron saying too much. I can't, but I didn't really pay much attention to what Macron said. Yeah. Um, but yeah, there does seem to be, yeah, this desire across Europe to have the US pay for the military protection and everything, and then tell them how to behave. Yeah. The world don't operate like that, and especially in Trump's world. Yeah. If you want me to pay for it, you respect me. You respect you listen to my decisions. Else, Foxtrot Oscar. Yeah.
Yeah. Van der Leyen said that the EU had better be involved in the peace deal because she wants her cut of the rare earth minerals, of course.
Well,
And
everyone
Trump,
does. Yeah.
in the meantime, Trump and Zelensky and Putin are already. Zelensky's going to be in the UK tomorrow, in the US tomorrow to sign the
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. I mean, I
Uh,
I made a joke with someone that I said one way or another, um, between the US and Europe, yeah, Ukrainians are not going to own their own country. Um, I could imagine Putin turning around and offering to liberate them at some point in the future. Yeah. Um, which is, again, this is the way Trump played it 4D. Get talking to each other. Yeah. Let's stop this ridiculous killing. Hopefully, we'll end up with a better world very quickly because we can't afford this. What's happening in Eastern Europe? We can't afford. Okay, we Europe does need to build stronger military, but we can't really afford it at the moment, from what I understand. I mean, okay, there's going to be a reappraisal of where the money goes from individual countries. And we all know what's happening in the UK at the moment. Internally, the administration of the UK isn't looking after its own people in quite the same way that um, that the president of the US is trying to build his country for the good of the general population.
well,
Um,
the European Union is shooting itself in the foot
mm,
because yes, they want to ramp up their military,
mm.
but at the same time, they're calling Putin a whole manner of bad names.
Yeah,
And the thing is that what do you think Putin's going to do when Europe is ramping up its military?
well,
Is he going to feel threatened?
well, he
Of course
already
he is.
is. Yes, well, that's what kicked this whole mess off in the first place.
So there you are, there you are. So you got to ask yourself, uh, who is the aggressor here, and what's going to happen in the future if Europe? I mean, Europe could end up being like Iran. You can't have that sort of weapon here, and they might start having to de-weaponize Europe if it gets too robust.
Well, I, I'm with a lot of people. I'd like to see an end to weapons of mass destruction, like nukes and going downwards. Yeah,
Well, just any
yeah, that's it.
high power weapons.
Yeah, I mean, it's frightening that we've got these things in the world. I know you can't uninvent them, and I've worked for other companies that have done armaments. Um, yeah, I mean, yes, I'd like to see a proper de-escalation, and Trump's way is with business. Um, quite how Ukraine is going to benefit out of all this, or the Ukrainian people. Yeah, Ukrainian people. I don't care about the Ukrainian leadership, the bunch of people driving around in Mercedes or whatever cars they've got. I'm thinking of the poor Ukrainian people that have taken a bashing, not just recently, as far back as 2014, etc.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the people that never get a look in anyway.
Mm.
So don't, you shouldn't think about the poor Ukrainian people.
Well,
But
yeah.
as I understand it, the rare earth minerals, I'm sure that the US is going to help pay for extracting the rare earth
Well, this is
minerals,
where it comes to tech to get it out the ground. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then is going to share the profits of the rare earth minerals between a three-way:
Mm.
Ukraine, the US, and Putin,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
But you give the Ukrainian government money, very rarely it goes to the people.
Yeah.
You know, give Putin money, very rarely it'll go to the people. You might
But
get something. You might get Trump at least paying off the American debt
yeah.
with the money,
Mm.
but with all at the end of the day, the people on the ground they don't get anything at
Well,
all.
I mean, when the old money before, back in the 80s, 90s, the Putin used shared the big money he made with the wealth with the people. Yeah. So that built his power base, as it were. Yeah. I mean, he's a gangster. I'm openly say that.
They
The
all
whole,
are.
yeah,
They all are. Trump said yesterday. He said, "Look, I've done deals with some really bad people.
yeah,
Putin's not bad." He said, "I've done some deals with some really bad
bad
people. I
people.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
construction company in New York.
Mm.
There are lots of people buried,
I'm not, yeah, I'm not going to speculate on that, but yes, I
no.
know where you're going with that. But yes,
Well, no, but I mean, Trump says he's,
mm,
I've done some deals with some really bad people. You
yeah,
have to,
yeah. I mean, that's it. It's. I mean,
and which is why I think that once Starmer gets there, it, Trump's going to cream him.
well, I personally think, and I know you and I disagree about this, but I think the other parties in the UK are gearing up for an election. They can smell blood. Um, I don't know if an election at the moment will be a benefit to the people. Probably be a May election, could be in the offing. I think I'm speculating here.
I don't know. I don't know because I think if they did that, then the economy, European economy, would come crashing down
European.
because of the instability.
Yeah, I'm
The
saying,
political
yeah,
instability. And
uh,
so I think I'm looking at the worst case scenario,
mm.
which is that Starmer is going to last his 4 years, a bit like Joe Biden did in the US.
Well, yeah, but there's a
He
different thing.
carried
He
out
had,
his 4 years, and at the end of the 4 years, that's it. You get rid of him, and
well,
you put who you really want in.
yeah, but yeah, it's a different scenario in the US, obviously, to the UK. I mean, we can get rid of or people can get rid of a leader at any point they want, not necessarily the people around him. It's a bit more difficult to do that with an elected official in the US because it's directly elected by the people, unless uh, his 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 mental abilities are not there, theoretically. So it's a bit
Paper.
more, yeah. But I agree with you. Yes, it will be disruptive. But at the moment, the world the world is disrupted, and there only seems to be
It is.
one leader who has a vision.
Yeah. It
Or
is. It is disrupted, Mark. It's just that nobody's wishing to say so.
well, I just have. You were
No,
just
I mean, yes,
yeah,
because we're on the outside looking in.
yeah.
But I
But
mean, the US will never say that they are bankrupt, even
no,
though they are. And nobody is going to say that the US is bankrupt because they need to prop up the dollar, because a lot of countries have got dollars in their reserves.
yeah.
And if they've got dollars in their reserves, the dollar tanks, they lose everything. They lose all the reserves.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're not going to talk it. I mean, you have just for 5 minutes spoke talked the UK down with its leadership. Yeah. Um, are we screwed? I don't know. I mean, I don't. I'm not going to call it how Trump will treat Starmer because Trump is still a bit affectionate for the UK for some reason.
But not for the leader.
Yeah. Yeah, we all know which leader he would have a preference for, and whether or not that's a good or bad thing remains to be seen. Yeah, because I mean, unless we're going to sell, okay, I don't believe there is a special relationship between the UK and the US. I don't believe it's existed for
Not
years.
anymore. Not anymore.
No. And yeah, we we got involved in the EU. We more or less shut out the Commonwealth, which would have probably been more benefit to us now. But yeah, they always felt slighted, and now we're getting the benefits of that now that they're wanting to leave. Um, and that wasn't about imperialism; it's about a common good. It's a wider EU, as it were. Um, or it is a trade bloc. It should be a trade bloc above anything else. Um, I've never liked the notion of the EU. When it was the common market, you could see the direction it was spinning in the 1980s. I mean, Thatcher saved it actually, but at the time, it's a bit like your thought. The UK was involved in the European the European commitment, obviously the EEC, yeah,
Yeah.
and
And they stayed on the bus.
yeah.
They didn't know when to get off the bus.
Well, it would have been a bit difficult to do it at that point, possibly, or Thatcher
But
tried, or Thatcher put in a load of proposals, or the British did. Yeah, she didn't do it. I've forgotten the law who did it, and it actually saved it. And then the proposals were taken up, implemented, and so yeah, Britain was actually responsible. And admittedly, Cameron tried his best to get the European Union or the European Commission to listen to prevent Brexit happening, or to make something palatable so Brexit wouldn't have happened or unlikely to happen. Well, the vote for Brexit was unlikely to happen. Brexit, let's be honest about it, Brexit hasn't really happened in a sense that I was sold.